Oh shit, the sound effects worked.
Sound effects worked. What is up, crew?
Ladies and gentlemen, happy Valentine's Day. We're gonna call it. Calling it early. I know, guys. It's high.
Happy Valentine's Beats Day.
That's right.
Valentine's
son.
Base.
Happy early Valentine's Day, Producer Lounge, episode 44.
Valentine's Day.
Yep, it's episode 144, folks. You
144.
heard it correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna update my DAW for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also, I have to say,
Beautiful.
Inspecta dropping the Big Z reference. Fucking surfs up. Oh my god.
God dang, bro.
Yeah, that penguin over the Happy Feet penguins all day.
Folks, if you're watching or listening, we are live right now on Twitch. Go to Twitch, Always 100 official. That's where we stream live every Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And this is our broadcast, where we're going to talk about music production things.
And we're going to talk about surfs up.
Yep.
Let's go.
And how much Inspecta loves it.
Tank needs fuel.
Yep. We're gonna toss around a bunch of random ideas and see if our collective brains come up with something interesting and new. You know, some juice.
The 400
We're here to
hive
share the
mind.
juice
The sauce.
and squeeze it.
Well, squeeze some juice on you, you know?
There might be
Squeeze a
some
little
juice
juice on
squeezing.
you.
There might be some juice squeezing.
Hopefully
no juice
Hopefully it's
squeezing,
not
but-
dry.
Yeah, no.
You know?
I mean, I'll try not to make it dry. So Dave and I were talking pre-pod about another pod.
What?
True.
Called Just for the Record.
Oh yeah, let's go. JFTR, dude.
JFTR. And there's an episode in particular with TZO where he's mixing a track live with a bunch of homies in the room who are also mixing engineers and mastering engineers, and he's kind of like just talking his way through. I wish he talked more because there's like some moves where I'm like,
Oh yeah.
what was that? Or I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing there, but why? Like, what are you hearing that I can't hear? But for the most part, it's all sick. But there's one thing he pulls up with Pro Q 3 that I want to highlight that is super sick.
Okay.
Oh.
That I totally forgot. Well, I didn't forget. I didn't know that was an additional feature.
Pro Q tips? Okay.
Yeah, folks, you're looking at Bitwig right now.
Yeah.
This is a project of
Superior DAW.
mine. Yeah, we're going to use this here project as just a little thing so we can see what's happening here. Okay, let's do this one. That's good. Everybody can hear that?
Mm-hmm. Just,
Make sure the gate isn't taking us off of it. So, add your Pro Q here. Make sure I'm not off the desk here, otherwise this is going to be hard. So, down here in the pre-post area, you have this little, what do they call it? Spectrum grab. So you enable it, it turns purple. This is so when you're looking at stuff, you can hover over it, and it'll kind of like sit here and add them all together and give you an average. And you can then grab a point, drag it down, yada, yada, yada. That's all fun and games. But what I didn't realize, if you hover over this again and then read the bottom part, to enter permanent spectrum grab mode and create multiple curves easily, click and hold in the spectrum area. So, if you hold this, it turns blue.
Whoa.
And now you can sit here and just carve away at things all together at once.
How is that
Which
different
is-
from the
Look how
purple?
many things it did.
Because it did them all at once, as opposed to just with the purple, you get it to hover.
Can't you still do that, though?
No, the moment
That's
you
one.
unclick,
then it
disappears.
resets it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you just have to go and get it to turn purple, and then you click and hold, and it'll turn blue.
What?
And now to get out of it, you just got to click away.
That's fun. I had no idea. That's crazy.
But yeah, he did it on a sound which I thought was interesting, where he had it here, and he enters it, and then he brings literally everything, so it's sitting at this line.
Really?
Which I was like,
Yeah.
I want more context as to why you're doing that for this particular. Like he was doing it for a kind of a chordy kind of thing.
And then why not just use Soothe at that point?
Like a guitar or
He was
something
using
like that.
Soothe, but on a couple other things like hi-hatty, high-end stuff, which I assume is because you can't do that up there. It's so small. Maybe it's because this is such a broad area in the mids.
That's fair, because Soothe does start to like roll off at like 1K,
Right.
2K area.
Like, let's see if we bring it down to this ARP since he's a little more sparse.
It's a synth, so it's all perfect already.
Right? But yeah, I mean, he's doing just these little things to bring them all
Interesting.
down, you know? And then he's like, all right, cool, moving on.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
There's also the optional, that little freeze button in Pro Q.
Yes.
Which I feel like is almost doing a similar thing as the blue guy, but it's less like just stop and reset when you want it to.
It just completely adds them over time.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, with the freeze button, just sit here and hold it down, and it'll freeze, and then you can let go, and it'll go back, which is kind of handy. But being able to just make this thing stop and work on a couple things while it's on a loop is fucking huge.
Right.
Will you pull up a Pro C? I saw him do one thing, and I don't think this is like the craziest thing, but try like right clicking on this or something. No.
Inspector, are you talking about like how you can send multiple sounds into Pro Q?
I don't know. He did. I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
It's a really good video though, because especially when you know what you're doing to some extent, because you're recognizing the type of plugin that he's using. You're understanding like, okay, there's a reason for this or that.
Right.
And he's explaining his process and why he's doing it. And then he's explaining like some nifty like mixing engineer type shit where it's like, I'm doing this for someone else.
Right. So
kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's talking about the compromises he's taking and things like that. And it's kind of amazing how often he switches between the demo and
he goes back to the rough
mix.
draft demo that they sent him beforehand to try and like kind of match it, but not, he wants it to be cleaner and hit harder, but he wants the vibe to still be there. So he's kind of using it for a graph.
He's also fast as absolute fuck. He's so fast. Like he'll just do that. He'll like, okay, moving on.
Yeah, we got that one.
Which, we've talked about that before.
Yep.
Like be quick. Don't overthink things.
Don't overthink shit.
Thank
you, Kenny Beats.
Kenny Beats.
Yeah.
It's a good video.
He's doing like a 1 decibel reduction. Shit like that I've never understood. Like,
well, it's stems. It's already like compressed and shit, and like somebody that knows what they're doing has already done things.
But like 1 decibel, like, do you think if you A-B'd Pro Q to be on and off, you think you'd hear that?
Definitely would. He would.
He would? Okay.
I don't know. We'd have to see.
I wouldn't hear that.
It really depends.
I think that you would hear
with the little high-end boost.
all the different ones together.
Not just like one.
Yeah.
If you A-B'd them, you'd be like, that other one sounds cleaner.
I could see that. I'll have to try that.
I had it like max in my car, so it wasn't like the best
Sure.
monitoring system, but I was enjoying just like kind of having an idea of the process and whatnot. It's a nice long video, and there's a few on the page with different people. I haven't checked them out, but this guy was killing it. So
Fuck yeah.
I assume the other ones are probably pretty good as well. Shout out Just for the Record.
Yep. Go give him a sub.
Big up.
Something I've actually been
Shout
enjoying
out
a lot.
Tizio.
Shout out Tizio. I've been enjoying trying to like force a blind A/B test on certain things in my mix. So in Ableton, you can route. I like to use like left click. Basically, you can route 2 buttons that turn your plugin on and off to just one button. So every time you hit it, it'll switch between the two, between your A/B that you're trying to do. So I'll like look away or close my eyes or whatever, spam it a bunch, and then so I don't know where it's starting, and then you listen with one, hit it, be like okay, oh what's the difference, and that's been a lot of fun. Just like forcing yourself to not use visualizers, which I'm constantly doing.
Yeah, both are good. And
both are good.
I mean, for sure, it's a cliche for a reason if you're like just looking at it the whole time and you're not doing A/Bs and trying to get a good idea of what you're doing, you're going to fuck up. Because your ears, your brain is doing weird shit while you're making on that music.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't want to hear a bunch of harsh shit. So your brain hears a bunch of harsh shit that you're doing, and then it tries to get rid of it. It gets used to it. It doesn't take it in as much, and then you don't have good ears anymore.
Right. You're compromised.
You are compromised, yes. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take a break. Take breaks.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially if you make like rhythm or drum and bass or something super aggressive.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself some ear breaks because good Lord.
Yeah, it can be pretty minor though too. And the other one is like when you're soloing out something and then you unsolo and all you can do is hear it now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're like, I need to turn the volume down. And then later you're like, why is it so quiet?
Yeah. Yep, right.
Yeah. Listening to other tracks in your studio also helps. Just like reminding yourself what good shit sounds like.
Yeah. It's always fun when you guys show me tracks in your studio because your studios are so much they're like there's just so much more sound treatment and it's so much tighter in there. And even just like being in there and hearing one song, I'm like, oh, it sounds so good in here. And then I go back down to my studio and I'm like, damn. Like I hear the difference now. Like, holy shit. Not that mine's like horrible.
Yeah.
But like
no, it's not at all.
Yeah. Not at all. But I hear the difference going into your guys' room and I'm like, why does everything just sound like so fucking
I mean,
clear?
It will be novel. It's like not the same at all. It's different speakers.
Right.
Different treatment, different shape of space. Like everything is very different. So it might just be that where you're like,
could be.
This sounds so clean and different and like,
yeah,
I like this.
Yeah.
Our rooms are pretty fucking dead though.
Your rooms are
That's
insane,
true.
right?
Yeah,
That's true.
I kind of want to liven it up a little bit almost. Like I wish I had a diffuser or two. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I very much do.
Is there some sort of like sound treatment that does the opposite, where it just like?
He was just saying it. Diffusers.
That's funny you bring that up.
Not like diffuser.
I mean, it's basically what you're thinking of, though.
Yeah. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah. It instead of absorbing the energy,
it's like these guys with our lights.
No, not dispersing either, because I would consider that still like a treatment. I was imagining like if you had like 4 giant like metal barrels in your room that would just like resonate just to add more sound for no reason.
I see. Like retarded.
Yeah, like it just
yes,
makes
for sure.
it even
for
worse
sure there,
in there.
For sure there are well,
hilarious.
You could definitely do that. But bass traps will often be specific to the spot. Like they're like,
tuned.
You'll figure out like 2/3 of the way into my room, there's like a 2-foot area where it's just going, whatever it is, 50, 80 hertz is just ringing the fuck out.
Yeah.
So then you build a bass trap that has a specific tuned chamber that it sucks it into. I don't really recall exactly how that works, but
it's something like that would be sick.
You do have to build it like hyper specific. That's like some nerdy ass shit.
Yeah. And then you got weird boxes all over your room. Yeah, it's very. It makes sense, but like,
how flat do you actually need your room to be?
Right. I feel like that's
which is a crazy thing for me to say.
Yeah. I know, right?
True.
Or you guys basically
people,
live in a sound panel.
We've gotten so nerdy that we've realized, like, sometimes you want a little bit of character going on.
You need a little bit more.
Yeah. It's just like the sounds.
It helps you relate better to like where people are actually listening to the tunes sometimes. If you're in total dead, then it's like, well, yeah, if anybody else is in a total dead room, it sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's something I've been enjoying doing with the boys is after we finish a track, we'll pump it up a little bit and then stand in random spots in the basement.
Same.
And just be like, how does it sound? You know, and whatever. It's
walk around.
So good.
Yep,
yeah,
I did that
Walking
too.
around is really nice.
Yeah.
Here where it's all boomy and then
Exactly,
less and then
I know all the little
if you could
spots.
just enjoy it throughout,
Exactly.
then you're kind of nailing it.
It's
you're
not
good.
about like,
Yeah.
oh, here it sounds really like tubby. We should EQ the tub out. Like, no,
Right.
it's not about that.
No.
It's just there's a tubby area, but just is it still cool? Does it still bang?
Yeah.
Since I have
Exactly.
this consistent problem of making my subs too loud, I've been trying to be like more aware and
Same.
keep them tucked. And I know this one spot in my basement where the sub is just like so excess.
Oh,
So I'll crank it and then just go stand there so I can like hear the
really
sub in
hate
excess.
how loud it is.
Well, not even
for a
hate it, but I
second.
get to be like, yes, all the sub
the
in the
sub
world,
is
and I get to
happening over
enjoy that
here.
for a sec. Yeah,
Oh, that's a good point.
yeah, and I get to just be like,
That is
yes,
fun.
all the sub, and then I walk back in front of the speakers and it tucks bound.
Yeah, you just throw your song on and you're just like, let me go listen to it with the bassy spot. in my room.
Exactly. Yeah, dude, that's my favorite moment. Maybe not my favorite, but it's a fun moment.
Yeah,
Chat.
It's a good time.
If you end up having any questions, please put them in the chat because that would be helpful for us. Not that we need you, but we do love you. So,
We got
Chat's over
pages
there.
and pages of notes over here, so
It's.
but we're happy to answer the questions.
It's true, dude. It's true, dude.
It's true. It's true.
It's true. Yeah, there was another thing that he and another thing.
And another one.
Another one.
Yeah.
Another one. There it is. We actually need that. We need DJ.
Another one.
Another one. We the best podcasters.
Oh, that'd be good.
We're not though. Another thing that guy brought up in that just for the record podcast, or not brought up, but he was doing, and I think it has something to do with him needing to gain stage into all the outboard gear they have there. But he was like checking his luffs on
When he got his kick going.
a bus. Yeah, when he got his kick and drums together, and when he got the kick and drums and sub together. He was like making sure it was under 14 luffs, basically, is what it looked like. And he would just like compress each one to where they all sat under that. And I was trying to figure out like, okay, well, what's the process after that? Are you just trying to get under that?
We're
and
not
then
that
you-
far into this podcast yet.
Right. I'm assuming that's what it is. I've only watched like 45
Yeah, I wonder.
minutes or so. But he kept doing that. So, folks, it's a good episode. Go check it out. Finish it before we finish this episode, and then let us know what happens.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, we got them
if
locked
they start
in.
halfway through.
Yeah, start where I left off. You just go back in the show. You'll
Yeah, and then just hit us with the notes.
with the cliff notes. You know what I'm
The
saying?
Cliff Notes.
Salute you and go to bed.
So, in other news,
Tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and
Are we looking for more topics here?
No, I actually do have a topic that I want to bring up.
in lieu of Valentine's Day, Austin has a topic.
Yeah.
There we go.
On theme as well.
Love?
So it's something I'm still like always confused about.
Okay.
Love.
Yeah,
You called no.
that's fair. Me too.
Okay.
Kidding.
It's
I love you, Dallas.
so I've been working off the like kind of classical mixed bus technique that I learned from Disclosure, where my drums will sit at -6 and my bass will sit at -8, right?
Okay.
So it's just a little bit under.
When they're hitting the mix bus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the mix buses go into a limiter that's pushed to 0.
Sure.
And then the bus itself is turned down to 6.
I see.
Sure.
Like the output after the
Right,
limiter.
totally.
Right. And something I don't get is always like when you go to the mastering stage, or at least like when I look at other people's tracks, it always looks like their kick and bass are just like one gigantic sausage unit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And my tracks kind of end up getting there after I like clip the master and limit shit, you know? But I don't understand like what the point is of having your basses quieter if you could just accomplish the same thing you're trying to do in the master by putting your bass at -6 and your kick at -6. So when you get to the master, you're just flattening it just a little bit instead of trying to like clip off all your percussion so the bass gets to the top. What am I missing here?
My response would be that little bit that you're talking about can cause lots of distortion.
So is the reason people avoided distortion?
Just those 2 decibels of difference are going to be the difference between like it being and it not.
Yep.
Wouldn't it, in theory, be
That's
the same volume though? Even if there's like, because you wouldn't be clipping
basses
your
are
master as much.
longer. The basses are longer. It probably depends on the length of the kick to be
Sure.
specific about it. Like it probably varies based on the length of the kick. Also, I turned my kicks way down. They might be at the same level of the bass a lot of the time for me.
Are they? Interesting.
I don't know. I start turning things down.
Right.
Okay.
And my kick is one of those things where I'll have it, and then later on in the mixing stages, I'll kind of like
It starts getting
start
used.
tucking it down
Yeah.
Really?
a little bit, yeah, because
Interesting.
it'll be too loud all the time.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it usually probably goes above everything else,
Next
A little bit.
but like man, it's not a lot.
next
okay.
time, and I'm not saying I know the answer to this, but next time you're in that process, try mixing them both at -6 and see what happens. But also
yeah.
watch what happens when you like say you have a kick coming into the mix bus at 0 or whatever, just loud as fucking ballsack, and you do all your normal mix things, and then you'll notice like as you're turning the kick down on your oscilloscope or on your limiter, like you don't see it come below 0 for like a while. Like you'll reduce it by 6 decibels and it's still just this flat head, and you're like, okay, where is that perceived 6 decibels? You know, it's just in there creating room that it doesn't need to. Like, so that's why like reducing just those 2 decibels probably allows room in the bottom end for things to breathe, because they're gonna both get squashed against a brick wall anyways.
I end up having my sub pretty fucking low, to be honest. I don't know that they're probably level. My sub ends up being fairly fucking low in the mixing stages. And then when it gets squished, then the sub is there, you know? Which maybe could give you an idea of how to have your kicks be maybe the super low endy. It depends on what your kick is, right? If the kick is just at 80 hertz, then it's a very different thing than if it's down at 40 or 50. Yeah.
Right. If it's a low boy.
Yeah. And if it is a low boy, maybe it's a good idea to have it be a little bit of a less aggressive low end on that low boy. Have the kick kind of thumping through in those like feelable frequencies.
Right.
Those chest frequencies, and then have the low end be a little bit more along the lines of where your sub is, which is like a big deal with the bass mixing basses. Like sub is the thing you need to think about,
right?
Not any like the low end, specifically the low end, because you can have a bass that's hitting 0 on a limiter, but the sub isn't very loud at all. You know,
True.
So it's like something you have to be really hyper
aware
focused
of.
on. Yeah.
Right.
Another thing that you could glean from this is I don't think about where certain things are in terms of like when they're coming to the mix bus or anything like that. Like I try to reset everything to 0 with clipping and limiting at the end of them, and then I just like start with the kick, and I just make the kick sound cool, and then I start working from there, adding the drums and the sub. And then, like, as the process starts, like, everything starts moving around. Like, the kick's going to get quieter or louder. Like, it's kind of just, it's just kind of a part of it. But having them all basically as stems, so you can't really fuck with anything, and you're just purely forced to just work with the volume of things, at least to start. Then once you have it, like, kind of sounding good without looking at any, like, visual things, then you can look at your like your limiter and your visual thing and be like, oh look, I'm at -6. Like, oh weird. Like that happens to me all the time. I'll just kind of go by ear, and then I'll look at the master limiter, and I'm like, I'm exactly where I should be if I sent this off to like a mastering engineer. Just by taking my time and like, oh, I need to turn the kick a little bit down. Yeah, no, it sounds too loud. Like this and that and this and that, and then it all just came out to like -6, and I clipped it and pushed it to fucking -4 lefts.
Yeah, called it.
Send it.
Right?
No.
Yeah, and that's something
yeah.
like I do try and rely on like my ears first and foremost than anything. Even if they're not fully accurate at this stage in my development, like
that's how you get them accurate.
Exactly, right?
Just trusting your ears and going.
Right. And then it's just like, yeah, I break down like levels of other people's tracks and look at their waveforms, and I'm just like, feel like I'm doing it wrong for some reason, but mine sounds good. So like I don't know.
Yeah,
you doing it different, bro.
I mean that for sure, but just so long as you're like sonically you feel everything's represented, you know. Like I have a most recent liquid track that I'm working on, and like I know the snare sounds cool, but when I A/B it in the car next to like another liquid track that's kind of similar, I'm like, my snare sounds much darker. But then when I'm just like listening to my track for its own trackness, I'm like, no, it sounds good. It sounds like nice and like kind of like if you were in a band and you put like a towel over the snare to get like a nice mood.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of got like that vibe. Yeah. And I'm like, actually it works because when the tambourine comes in, that fills up all the top end, and it's kind of just the artistic choice of the mix.
Yeah.
That I'm like, honestly, when I look at all my meters and everything seems, you know, up to par with everyone else, it's just a different flavor.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Yeah. My shit looks super dynamic compared to other tunes out there, I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Actually, haven't tried that out in a while.
Just
looking at the waveform.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You don't need your shit to look like everybody else's shit.
Well,
honestly, like, I feel like a lot of the time there's too much sub in a lot of electronic music.
Agreed.
Like, it could use a little less sub, which would make the waveform look a lot different.
Yeah,
you know? Because what you see when you look at a fucking EDM track waveform, it's like just boo, like the kick, and then it's just like sine wave, and then it starts doing other things. And I'm like, I'm bored. I'm so bored of that, like, really fucking sterile, perfect fucking sine wavy.
Yeah, it better be like playing a rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very least.
Right.
Yeah, but like even in like the short term, like to some extent, but
it is so
let's
nice.
get a little movement in the sub frequencies.
Yeah, even if it's just a little bit. Like, let's say you want the chunk, but like let it die for a sec and then come back.
Right.
Like,
have some envelope.
Yeah, it doesn't have to chunk the entire drop.
Well, I mean,
know?
that's unbearable.
Yeah, an excision waveform.
Sometimes it's sick as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just it's all taste, preference. That's cool though. That's definitely something I like get in my head about a lot.
It's also like innovation and shit. Like we're coming into going to the club. Like, how do we design the track to work the best in the fucking club? Like, what makes it really fucking go hard as fuck? And most clubs have way too much sub in the room.
Yep.
Whether it's the room or the speaker system being just like,
Or the sound guy.
they crank this up. They often do.
Sound
So,
guy.
We're looking to use sound guy.
Yeah. Yeah, guy. Sound.
Or gal.
Soundy.
Sound gal.
Soundy sound gal guy.
On that note, I was watching a video. What's up, Aeon Voyage?
Oh,
shit.
Kyle.
I was watching a Noisia. Actually, I'll wait till he gets back because I want him to hear this. Go pee real quick. Speaking of which, Barbara, can I get another Arizona? Thank you.
She's not coming.
He says, Aeon Voyage in chat, dudes, I feel like music is so bright these days. That's my recent pet peeve. With
Mids,
mixing
baby.
and referencing. Yeah, I agree with you, dude.
Mids.
Everything is so bright.
Yeah. Like,
and a lot of times it's like cheating. It's like that's like,
it's the curse of the smile.
well, there's that
smile curve.
But
man.
also everyone's like clipping their hi-hats so much to the point where they're just white noise. And it's like, look, I'm all for clipping, but it doesn't need to just be shh, 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 shh. Like
everything.
it's just a square of white noise. And there's no tail.
We've been on a mids train for a long
Yeah.
time. And, you know, we're trying to make our shit bright, but my shit's not going as bright as
No.
the big boys
I
are
also like,
taking it. I kind of like it like slightly less.
yeah, my version of bright is I like cutting out like 4K on some things and then just letting that, what's left in the top end, 6K and up, ring out because of that, because I've kind of carved out a little bit of that 4K and you get a little bit of the sparkle.
True.
But then there's not so much of that harsh of the 4Ks.
Yep. Yeah, I be fucking getting rid of my 4Ks as well.
He be.
I do.
So real quick before we hop into chat here, welcome back, Meatbag Collector.
Oh, meatbag. We got a little party tonight.
I was watching this video of Noisia talking to some guy about their 4X visual plugin thing. And of course, like they do, they got caught up in talking about like kick drums and like all sorts of fucking nerdy shit. And Nick was real adamant to say he's like because in their 4K thing, you can bring up a reference curve that's like a little highlighted area on the frequency
I'm
spectrum.
so jealous of that
Where
thing.
you want to like keep your frequencies in between throughout your like mix kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I like having this in here, but people need to not make shit sound like everyone else. He was like, everyone's mixes sound the same. Don't use this for a ruler. Just know this is in general where this genre lies. And I was like, that is such a good caveat to just, especially from him, who's like an absolute legend of making like negative
Yeah.
three
I love that.
LUFs sound
I love
good.
that.
Yeah.
Right. He's
Yeah.
like, stop. Just make weird shit. I'm like, fucking.
Like
fucking
if you,
right. Like
if you have two peaks at like 600, but they're going over the little blue line, but it sounds sick.
Yeah, well,
You're like,
personally,
"Oh."
by the time, like, if I have that after my master limiter, which you obviously would, by the time I'm, like, all the way done, all my shit's over that line.
Oh, yeah?
Like, at, like, -7 LUFs. So
Shit.
it's only really for, like, the building phase. Like, I keep everything kind of in there in general, and I'll, like, compress things to make sure, like, the sub doesn't like fall out of it in between. It kind of like stays in there and then just turns off if it's not in there. And I'll try and like do that kind of a move. But once I go into like mixing, I'm not like looking at that. I go by my ear and then I'll like check it. But I like looking at the one that you're kind of like looking down on a topographical and it shows the heat little maps of them. I can't remember.
Oh, I
what
love
the
that
fuck
one
they're
too.
called.
Yeah. I didn't use the Vision one. I use Flux, but there's a similar one.
Right, it's
that
got
does
that
that, yeah.
little bit too. I like that,
Yeah.
although I don't really know how to read it. Like I know I know how to read it, but I'm like, all right, I know I want my subs red because they're like the most powerful thing now. But like,
Yeah.
when it goes up the spectrum, like, when do I know if something's too loud? Like, obviously, if it's red,
Yeah.
because that means it's like as loud as the sub, uncurved, and it's like, but.
I haven't used one of those visualizers in a long time.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's-
love it.
I'm trying to like use it a lot to
Yeah.
get better at it.
I have mine on a setting where it's not the heat map version. It's just a rainbow of the frequencies, and it doesn't tell you if like your frequency is louder
brighter
or not. It's a little bit brighter,
dimmed or something.
Dim,
like that.
yeah. But I mainly use it just to see where all the sounds are sitting in relation to each other, and like maybe how over a build-up. That was weird.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was gonna.
Double a little
I
bit?
can't get it to work, but apparently, if I turned this mixer on, it would work.
Yeah. Yeah, I like watching it specifically just for like the low end, where you can see on flux. I forget what it's like, spectrogram, whatever the fuck it's called.
Right.
But you can shift it from going like bottom up to right to left,
Right.
and then you see like 40 seconds of your song, and you kind of see how your song is interacting in all the frequencies on like a long-term range.
Right. Right.
And that is amazing, especially for build-ups, because you're like, oh, I have a bunch of sub through my whole build-up, and then just sub more in my
sure,
my
yeah,
drop.
if you're not like paying attention to that.
This is
yeah,
my
yeah.
VR plugin that I want so badly, where you just print your tune into this software, and then you can just walk in time along the full waveform,
and be like, "What's this?"
and it's an EQ or something,
right.
and then you can just like this peak,
Yeah.
just turn it down.
Oh,
Right.
Just-
what?
It's basically just automation.
Yeah, it's automated.
made very visually
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, that would be tight.
Oh, someone fucking just make that shit. You could do it
That would
in
be
a
insane.
computer as well,
Oh yeah.
and just scroll through it and then find little points and
Mm-hmm.
have it easy to select the actual peaks and shit.
Right.
Oh, it would be so epic. You could
That
like
would be
carve out
insane.
weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Just for this moment, I want to set it to like carve out right here.
Right?
That would be so sick. Yeah.
Meatback Lecter, welcome to chat. He says everyone is wrong.
Yeah. Classic meatbag.
The best track I've ever heard was some lady hitting pots and pans. She hits 26 hertz fundamental. It's wild. Best bass I've ever heard. Terje Ingsunget.
I sung set.
Fading Away. I sung set. Yeah, sure. Terje, I sung set. Fading Away. And Voyage in the middle of that said, I have a growing suspicion that people are mixing songs specifically for people wearing earplugs in live settings.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we
That
were
muffs
talking
the
about
sound
that.
a bit carefully. Muffs the sound a bit, and it actually sounds good in that setting. Interesting perspective.
That would be hilarious.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, they
Yeah.
definitely, a lot of people
Fuck
mix
that.
with iPhone speakers in mind, which it's like, what fucking 11-year-old is listening to fucking tracks on just their speakers on their phone? Just
I
like
mean, hey, I
walking
do
down the-
that.
but just like walking down the street.
But expecting a sick ass mix from it and being like, this is gonna sound the best it can off my iPhone, like that's then you're an
yeah,
11-year-old.
it's so
Yeah,
wild. Yeah, but no one knows what mixes are. Like the layperson's like, what?
that's
You have
also
to
a
do
good
what
point.
to the song? Why don't you just record it?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Why don't you just play the song?
Never mind.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That
Yeah.
would be kind of fucked up in a way if people were making their shit extra bright just to blast through earplugs. So all the people who don't have earplugs just get murdered that night.
It's kind of cool. It is very annoying that to go to a show and be a responsible person wearing earplugs is the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that so annoying? Because otherwise, it's not going to be loud enough to be super impactful and awesome.
Right. So the highs have to be just fucking ear bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's when a good fucking live engineer comes in handy. But most of the time at like these clubs,
Right.
it's just like John who fucking does it for all the clubs, and he's like not even
Sure.
a fucking producer.
yeah.
No offense to any sound guys or sound gals out there. But,
I mean, offense.
you know, just
Get your shit right.
yeah, be aware
Do
of
it.
the high end. You have shelves. I know you have shelves on that software.
Oh yeah.
Shelf the high end, guys. Shelf it down a little bit.
I did
Help
see.
them.
I like they'll have like a graphic EQ equalizer kind of thing, whatever, spectrograph or something, whatever you call that shit.
Parametric EQ? I don't know.
Just the analyzer, like sitting there at the soundboard. I don't know where they have it mic'd up from, but they got the fucking little graph going, showing them the shit. And I'm looking at it like, that looks awful. That looks so awful. Ew, what is this thing? It's got some like weird like peaks coming up right in the fucking like 500 or some bullshit. And you're like, I wonder what we're using this for.
Right? Yeah. It would be fun to get like a sound guy on the podcast, talk to them about that. Just be like, yeah, what are you actually doing there? Maybe not on the pod, but
I would love to just be a sound guy.
Yeah, I do.
In another life.
Right. Yeah, in another life. Yeah. And just be the best sound guy ever.
Be an amazing sound guy.
When I saw the sword, obviously when it comes to a band, usually they'll bring a sound guy. But the guy that they brought, he cooler than the band. Oh, yeah. Leather pants, leather jacket.
Oh, he was fucking ready to
long
rock.
Black hair, rings on every finger. He had like a fucking 6-pack of beer. He just like brought up and was just like, all right. And the guy was like, yeah, the thing's just like, all right, cool. And then he just like sat back and like made the most minute changes throughout the whole thing, and it sounded amazing.
Right, he
so
just
good.
set it up perfect. Everything's already been pre-organized to where it all is supposed to match.
And now he just
everybody
has
knows
to
where
ride.
to turn their fucking guitar to.
He just has to sit here and ride to each song. Basically.
Yeah,
like,
and they've been playing in clubs forever.
Right. And
is it
just coolest guy?
Is that a thing where the sound guys will turn up the headliners?
Yeah, that for sure
is
happens.
That,
yeah,
is that always is like a standard
that's
thing?
a usual standard.
It happens, regularly.
Do you think that's just to make the headliner sound better, or is it because people's ears are getting used to the level over time and they want it to be more impactful?
It could be
or both.
It could be a little bit of both, but it's also
I think
just
it's prior.
It's also just for the night. Like that was probably way before real bands and stuff. Like
right.
For like just live performances in general, whoever was the main act usually was the loudest. You would think.
Yeah, which is fair.
know?
It's totally
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
How much do you think they're boosting by?
It's an interesting
just
theory.
10 decibels or something, right?
I don't know. It really depends.
I actually have no idea about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what the amount is, but regularly you will definitely hear the difference.
Yeah.
It's not like
And it's also
they go like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also
yeah.
It's funny sometimes to see guys like DJing and they don't have the control of that. It's like at the main board, so they try goosing the mixer themselves, and it just gets more distorted.
just distorts it.
Yeah, and you're like,
They're like, oh.
I see what you did there.
Uh-huh.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it sounds like shit.
Yeah, you fucked up. You done fucked up. FOH, don't give a shit.
Front of house.
Front of house.
Mixer
Right?
guy. Yeah.
Got it. Yes.
So my kicks are just over time slowly getting smaller and smaller.
Bueno.
Yeah. Like,
Mine have gotten bigger.
really? What? Oh, well,
Dun,
because
dun,
of
dun.
140 now specifically, or just
No, just in the last like 6 months or so.
interesting?
Yeah.
Like lengthwise?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No, girth-wise.
Why bigger? Oh, girth-wise. I mean,
I just want them to exist more, I guess.
interesting.
I don't.
Okay.
I just have noticed that I take a little less off of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's cool. That's cool. Are you sitting at like an eighth note then?
Oof.
Depends.
Because that
I don't- I don't
I
know.
know.
So long. I mean,
I have no idea. I don't put it to an exact 8th or
Yeah.
16th. That's for sure.
that's fair.
Oh, see, I kind of do. It's never exact. I
fuck
do
that
kind of
shit.
base it off the kick, but I tend to try and make it sit around a 16th note. It's usually like a little bit longer, but that's where the fade out happens.
Yeah.
But
Y'all are wild. I work in milliseconds, dude.
so you're doing 30-second note kicks.
328 milliseconds, son. That's the perfect size. Scientifically proven.
I've never.
You just use kick 2, so
Yeah.
you're looking at
No,
the milliseconds every
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I use Well, and I don't even know how that works because it says milliseconds 600 and
Right.
something.
It might not actually be.
And I don't know if that's the full thing or just where my kick is. Like it,
I hate that. Yeah.
but I don't touch that. All I know is the grid that's on there. My default preset that I've made is a 16th. And so I'm okay if the tail kind of bleeds past 16th or whatever, but for the most part, the meat, the whole transient plus the tonal area is a 16th.
If it's
And then
set
it
to a
kinda-
specific millisecond, though, then that means it's only a 16th for specific tempos.
No,
or
it's-
does Kick 2 base it off
it's-
the tempo
Yeah,
also?
it bases it off the tempo of the project.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, no,
Um,
but still.
Yeah, the milliseconds part, I don't know how that works. I
Yeah.
don't pay attention to that. I've accidentally dragged it a couple times and it's fucked up my kick and I've been like, and I can't control Z that. It just stays and it control Z's something else that I did before and I'm like,
Right.
fuck.
Yeah,
So I have to go back to like 6:30.
you don't
and
even
just
have
guess.
any idea what happened.
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck, okay, well.
Now everything's different.
And Voyage says he just goes by feel for kick length, and Meatbag Collector says doesn't really matter.
Damn.
Big reverb and fast decay. Amen, brother. Amen. Living like you die. Or I guess dying like you live. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Unless it's D&B, then those kicks are tiny. That is fair.
Interesting.
That is fair.
Yeah, that's still feel though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still, it's mainly that. But without like having it super loud, it's so hard to like feel the thud of a kick. Like you can kind of perceive it.
Yeah, I
But,
want to
like-
get a little bit of that subbiness coming in.
Yeah, it's like the difference between what you think a kick sounds like in your studio, even loud, and when it sounds like in a club, like an open club, you're like, oh God. Like it's so
Right.
weird.
Right.
It's so bizarre. That's when, like, to be safe, make it tighter in general, I would say.
Yeah.
And also watch the top end.
General, I would say.
General, I would say. Yeah, a good way to watch the top. Throw a shaper box on that thing. Multi-band. Shape the high end.
Yep.
Shape
That's always a good time.
the high end.
Teach him.
That shit is the
Play a
sick
Dave over here.
shit.
I'm so nervous.
You could also just put a multi-band on and do a volume
Sure.
automation.
Classic.
Just do it the first time and then print it and you're good.
I wish we had a buddy like in the scene where he could just let us like go to Black Box or Mission Ballroom and test out our songs.
I know.
Because that's something I'm so nervous about. Like when I play my first spot, like I'm sure the mixes will sound like fine, but I know there's going to be some songs here.
I mean,
and
they
there
will in
with
the black
something.
box.
Yeah.
The black box sounds good.
It's very forgiving.
Yeah.
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 Fuck yeah. Yeah, and your songs sound good, so
Let's
And-
go.
they'll
yeah.
sound good in there.
Fuck yeah. There is always that fear though of just like, oh, what if like it's just way too bright, or what if this one thing doesn't happen that it should? But that's okay. Like it'll be the first set. And then if you have homies in the audience, they can just tell you. Like, oh, this one thing could have been better. It was fine, but here's
Sure.
how you could do it better.
Sure. Yeah.
And you make that little adjustment next time you
if
play it out.
If they have anything to say at all.
Right?
Most likely they're chatting it up with friends, going to have a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Maybe not. Maybe you get lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Meatbag Collector over here just fucking writing a book.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to read it all.
Giving us a novel,
That's
me
fine.
bag.
Before final print. Want a big song, he says. Print it like 10 times. Yeah, that's how you get to a loud song in general, is like a bunch of little tiny clipping. So you're
Yeah.
like gaining little bits of headroom here and there and here and there and here and there. Same with, I guess, limiting and compression to be precise.
I remember this one time I was in a Twitch feedback stream, and this guy sent in one of his tracks, and he was like, "Oh yeah, these days I don't even master. In FL Studio, you can just export and hit this normalize button, and it'll just push it to 0 for you." And I just wanted so bad to like blow up chat with fucking blah 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 blah, but I was like, nah, Just let him have this.
That's a fun way to do it.
It is kind of clever though, right? Like,
it is gonna sound like ass because there's gonna be a peak just like sitting there, and then the song's just down here
exactly.
at nothing.
Yeah. You're one
Unless
big
you're
peak.
clipping,
Yeah.
I doubt he was.
then
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
Sounded like a kid who had no idea, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like fuck mastering, you could just hit normalize and it does the thing
I don't think
for
he
you."
knows what either one of those are.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit.
And I heard that, and I was like, honestly, I've never heard anyone say that before, so that's kind of sick, but also like, oof.
Aeon
The whole thing's over
Void
and
says
over.
I used to do that.
No, did
That's
you?
fair, brother. I mean, my
Let's
first
go.
couple exports, I left them exporting overnight just because they were on the default, or I like changed them for the highest possible like I was like, yeah, print at the maximum quality, sure. And it's just like it was a 2-minute song, and it's like, all right, it can take 8 hours. I was
This
like,
is a gig.
oh wow, I have to wait 8 hours every time I print. Like, man, that kind of sucks. And I just did that for like 2 days until Gary came over, and it was still printing, and he's like, did it freeze? And I was like, no, it's just printing the track. He's like, yeah, you don't. That's wrong. I was like, oh,
He's
shit.
like, it should not be taken.
And I
that
was
long.
also like, thank God, because I was I was like, I'm gonna give up immediately. I don't want to
Yeah.
do this. I don't want to wait this long.
God,
There's a reason I
right.
don't do visual art that much because it takes like 13 hours to make it look really fucking good.
So fucked.
True. That shit's
That's
annoying.
Yeah, and even when you get like a better GPU, it's like, well, I'm still gonna then take another 14 hours because it's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You're constantly
Like,
just pushing at the threshold
Right,
of our
right.
technology.
power creep. Yeah. The early days. Well, speaking of early days, folks, the day is now over.
Oh. Late days.
That's right.
Happy Valentine's Day, motherfuckers.
See, Valentine's Day, Super Bowl
Yep.
just happened.
It's true.
The one team beat the other team. Go Sports.
I don't think any team won, actually. I think Taylor Swift won.
Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl. Without a doubt.
She definitely did win.
So, let's go over our
Oh, the recap?
Little recap.
Recap here.
I like
Okay.
this.
First, we talked about some Pro Q tricks where you can hover where it turns purple and then click and hold and it'll turn blue, and you can sit there and add little nodes. JFTR Podcast, Just for the Record podcast. Go check it out. Lots of mixing tips.
I'm actually going to check that out.
They were mixing a hip hop track, but it doesn't really matter. It's all like, it's beat centric, which is kind of our universe, so it still kind of applies. We talked about a bean.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about a bean.
Yep, we talked about a bean. We talked about mix referencing.
And why it's the worst.
Yep, I use ProQ for low, high pass, and then forget it can do anything else. That's fair.
I know, right?
Wild choice.
We talked about too much sub in modern mixes. We also talked about too much high end in modern mixes. Let me just add that.
Gotta update the notes.
Yeah, gotta make sure that's on there.
We also talked about earplug mixing for like Apple AirPods and shit like that. And we also got what I think is a cool T-shirt idea out of the podcast. Bring back envelopes.
Yeah. And it was it could be like mixing for AirPods, but also mixing when people have earplugs in live and they're just boosting the shit out of shit. So you can hear through
like
your earplugs.
live mixing.
Yeah.
That's not good. Don't do
Defeating
that.
the purpose of earplugs.
Don't do that. 200 to 500 hertz is the golden range. People cut entirely too much. Well, that's true too. We were talking about mids just before you got in here,
We did
meatbag.
talk a good bit about mids.
So I'll add that to the list as well. We talked about mids and how they're not mid.
Mids aren't mid.
Mids are not mid. And neither are you, chat.
You're not mid, chat. In our
And neither
eyes,
is this podcast. It's a professional podcast.
professional.
And it's
Quite.
fucking over.
Folks,
Already.
thank you for turning your TV channel to this channel.
Thank you for turning
Your sound.
Your sound. To this channel.
Piss is also gold, says Meatbag Collector, in case you didn't know.
Can't argue with that.
Now you do. I won't say the other part.
Depends
of that.
on the piss.
Folks.
Saying.
Episode 144. What a great time, guys.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, Caleb. Oh, gee. Oh, Dave.
That one is a YouTube rip.
We're starting
That was a
a
YouTube rip. That was bad.
GoFundMe
Whoa.
for me getting a gold chain, so I can.
Yes, we are doing that. We are starting that.
So I can almost be as cool as these guys over here.
And it's called Get a Job, Austin.
It's called Get a Job.
I wasn't going to make the joke.
my
No, that's
GoFundMe is.
That's the name of the GoFundMe. It's
Oh,
called
right.
Get
right,
a Job,
right,
Austin.
right.
You send in applications of jobs that are hiring. You send
For
them my
him.
way.
Yeah, exactly. He sends out his resume to you guys.
Yeah.
You send the resume. That's how you fund him.
Yep.
Also, money works. Folks, thanks so much. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be here Tuesday, 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. Hit the sub, hit the like button, follow.
Oh, also,
You got 10 seconds.
Restraint, Kyoto, Back Left, and Slamedo are playing at Cervantes on April 25th. Be there.